In a small village called Kijani, there was a boy named Jabari. Jabari was not like the other boys in the village. While they played games and learned to hunt, Jabari spent his time in the kitchen. He loved cooking more than anything else. This is the story of how Jabari's love for cooking changed his life and the lives of those around him. Welcome back to the channel. Buckle up and enjoy today's video. In the village of Kijani, there lived a boy named Jabari. Jabari's family was not wealthy, but they were full of love. His mother, Kiki, was a kind and gentle woman, but she was not a great cook. She tried her best. But her food was often either too salty, too bland, or burned. The only thing she could make well was toast, and even that was sometimes overcooked. His father, Mosi, worked hard in the fields every day, but he didn't know how to cook either. Most of the time, they had to eat canned food, which wasn't very tasty. One evening, Jabari sat at the dinner table, looking at the plate of burnt toast in front of him. He felt sad because he knew his mother tried so hard, but the food was just not good. He decided that he had to do something about it. He wanted to help his mother and make delicious food for his family. The next day, Jabari went to the market with his mother. The market was a busy place with many people selling fruits, vegetables, and spices. Jabari saw a stand with tomatoes, onions, and garlic. He remembered seeing these ingredients in a cookbook he had borrowed from the village library. "Mother, can we buy these and make pasta tonight?" Jabari asked. Kiki looked at the ingredients and said, "I don't know, Jabari. I have never cooked with these before." "Please, Mother. Let me try. I've been reading about cooking, and I think I can do it," Jabari said. Kiki smiled at her son's determination and agreed. They bought the ingredients and went home. That evening, Jabari carefully chopped the tomatoes, onions, and garlic. He heated a pot and added the ingredients, stirring them gently. The kitchen soon filled with a wonderful smell. Mosi came in from the fields, curious about the delicious aroma. Jabari boiled the pasta, and when everything was ready, he served it to his parents. Kiki and Mosi took their first bites and their eyes widened with surprise. "This is delicious, Jabari," Mosi said, taking another mouthful. Kiki smiled, tears of joy in her eyes. "You have done a wonderful job, my son. This is amazing." From that day on, Jabari took over the cooking in their home. He loved trying new recipes and making tasty dishes for his family. However, the other children in the village did not understand his passion. They teased him, calling him names and saying that cooking was only for girls. One day at school, their teacher, Mrs. Acua, asked the class, "Who wants to learn engineering?" All the boys eagerly raised their hands. Then she asked, "Who wants to learn cooking?" Jabari was the only boy who raised his hand. The girls giggled and whispered, but Mrs. Acua smiled warmly at Jabari. "Very well, Jabari. You will learn cooking," she said. Despite the teasing, Jabari did not give up. He knew that cooking was what he loved to do. He continued to practice and improve his skills. Kiki had always struggled in the kitchen. She would follow recipes from the village elders, but the results were always disastrous. One day, she tried to bake a cake for Jabari's birthday. She carefully measured the ingredients and followed the instructions, but the cake turned out like a blackened brick. Mosi tried to comfort her. "It's the thought that counts, Kiki. We can still celebrate with what we have." But Jabari couldn't hide his disappointment. He had been dreaming of a delicious cake, and now it seemed impossible. One day, while shopping at the market, Jabari saw a cookbook on display. It was filled with colorful pictures of cakes, pies, and pastries. His heart raced with excitement. He saved up his pocket money and bought the book. Every evening, he would sit at the kitchen table, reading the recipes and dreaming of the day he could make such beautiful creations. His first real attempt was a simple sponge cake. He followed the recipe carefully, making sure to measure everything exactly. When he pulled the cake out of the oven, it was golden and fluffy. Jabari could hardly believe his eyes. He decorated it with fresh berries and presented it to his parents. Kiki and Mosi were speechless. They took bites of the cake, savoring each mouthful. "This is incredible, Jabari," Kiki exclaimed. "You have a gift." Jabari beamed with pride. From that moment on, he was determined to perfect his craft. He practiced tirelessly, always seeking to improve. His parents supported him wholeheartedly, proud of their son's dedication and talent, but life was not without its challenges. Kiki's health began to decline. She had always been a strong and vibrant woman, but now she struggled to breathe. Her asthma worsened, and she had to rely on an oxygen tank. Jabari was terrified. He didn't understand why this was happening, and he felt helpless. One day, Mosi suggested a trip to the coast to lift their spirits. They packed a picnic and drove to the beach. The salty air and the sound of the waves were a welcome change, but Jabari couldn't shake his worry about his mother. They sat on the sand, eating quick frozen food. Jabari scraped the meat jelly off in disgust, which angered his father. "Jabari, you need to be grateful for what you have," Mosi scolded. Jabari felt a pang of guilt. He didn't want to upset his father, but he couldn't help longing for something better. That night, as they drove back home, Kiki's condition took a turn for the worse. She struggled to breathe, and Jabari could see the pain in her eyes. They rushed her to the village healer, who did what he could to ease her suffering. Jabari stayed by his mother's side, holding her hand and praying for her recovery. But deep down, he knew that time was running out. He wanted to do something special for her, something that would bring her joy in her final days. As Christmas approached, Kiki asked Jabari to help her make pies. It was a tradition they had always enjoyed, but this year felt different. They rolled out the dough together, shaping it into perfect circles. But when it came time to fill the pies, they realized they had no jam. "We'll buy some tomorrow," Kiki said, her voice weak, but Jabari couldn't wait. He knew that tomorrow might be too late. He spent the night searching for a solution, determined to make the pies perfect for his mother. He found some wild berries in the forest and made his own jam, working tirelessly until dawn. The next morning, he presented the pies to Kiki. Her eyes filled with tears as she tasted them. "These are wonderful, Jabari." "Thank you." That night, Kiki passed away peacefully in her sleep. Jabari was devastated. He clung to his mother's dresses, inhaling the scent that reminded him of her. He felt lost and alone, but he knew he had to carry on. Mosi was heartbroken too, but he tried to be strong for Jabari. He encouraged his son to continue cooking, knowing it was a way for him to honor his mother's memory. Jabari threw himself into his work, determined to make his mother proud, but life took another unexpected turn. Mosi fell in love with a woman named Zola, who came to work as their housekeeper. Zola was very different from Kiki. She was strict and had little patience for Jabari's cooking. She often criticized his efforts and tried to take over the kitchen. Jabari felt a deep sense of loss. His mother's kitchen, the place where he felt most at home, was no longer his. Zola's presence made him feel unwelcome. He continued to cook, but it was no longer the joyful experience it once was. He missed his mother's encouragement and the sense of peace her presence had brought. One evening, Jabari decided to make his father's favorite dish, grilled fish. He carefully prepared the fish, brushing it with butter and herbs. As he was about to serve it, Zola entered the kitchen. "What are you doing, Jabari? You're making a mess," she snapped. Jabari's heart sank. He had worked so hard, but it seemed nothing he did was ever good enough for Zola. He served the fish to his father, hoping for some words of praise. Mosi took a bite and smiled. "This is wonderful, Jabari. You have a real talent." Zola glared furiously, but said nothing. That night, Jabari went to bed with a small smile on his face. His father's words meant the world to him. But the happiness was short-lived. Zola was determined to show that she was the better cook. Every day, she tried different recipes and made elaborate meals, each one more impressive than the last. Mosi seemed to enjoy her cooking, which made Jabari feel more and more out of place. He continued to practice and bring home dishes he made at school, but Zola always found a way to overshadow him. One Wednesday, Jabari brought home some muffins he had baked in his cooking class. He was excited to share them with his father, but when he got home, he found Zola serving her own lemon cake. Mosi took a bite and declared it the best dessert he had ever eaten. Jabari was devastated. He had worked so hard, but it seemed he could never win. Determined to prove himself, Jabari decided to master the lemon cake. He studied recipes, practiced endlessly, and even watched Zola in secret to learn her techniques. After many attempts, he finally perfected his own version. He was eager to show his father, but when he brought the cake to the table, Mosi was too full from Zola's cooking to even taste it. "Not now, Jabari. Maybe later," Mosi said, dismissively. Jabari felt a lump in his throat. He had poured his heart into that cake, and now it seemed all for nothing. He watched as Zola smirked, knowing she had won again. His frustration grew, and he felt increasingly isolated in his own home. As time went on, Jabari's relationship with his father became strained. He felt that Mosi was choosing Zola over him. The once warm and loving home was now filled with tension. Jabari decided he couldn't take it anymore. He packed his bags and left home, finding work in a small restaurant in the city. Working in the restaurant was hard, but Jabari loved it. He was finally doing what he was passionate about. And he learned a lot from the experienced chefs. Despite the long hours and tough work, Jabari thrived. He knew he was on the right path, but he missed his father and the home he had left behind. Months later, Jabari returned to Kijani, hoping to make amends. But when he arrived, he was met with heartbreaking news. His father had passed away from diabetes while he was gone. Jabari didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. He felt a deep sense of loss and regret. The house that was once full of memories now felt empty and cold. Jabari packed up his father's belongings, including the old recipes his mother had kept. He took one last look at the home he grew up in, then left for the city, determined to honor his parents' memory through his cooking. Years passed, and Jabari's skills continued to grow. He became a nationally renowned chef, known for his creativity and passion. People from all over came to taste his dishes. But despite his success, Jabari couldn't shake the feeling of regret. He missed his mother's gentle encouragement and his father's rare but meaningful praise. He often thought about the family dinners, the laughter, and even the struggles they had faced together. One day, Jabari decided to open his own restaurant. He named it Kiki's Kitchen in honor of his mother. The restaurant quickly became popular, known for its warm atmosphere and delicious food. Jabari made sure to include some of his mother's favorite recipes on the menu, as well as his own creations. The opening night was a huge success. As Jabari walked through the bustling dining room, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. He had come a long way from the boy who was teased for loving to cook. Now, he was a respected chef with his own restaurant. But something still felt missing. As he was cleaning up after the first night, an elderly woman approached him. She had a kind face and a gentle smile. "Your mother would be so proud of you." "Jabari," she said softly. Jabari looked at her in surprise. "How do you know my mother?" he asked. The woman chuckled. "I was a friend of Kiki's. We used to cook together when we were young. She always talked about you and how proud she was of your passion for cooking." Tears filled Jabari's eyes. "I miss her so much," he said quietly. The woman placed a hand on his shoulder. "She's always with you, Jabari. In every dish you make, in every smile you bring to someone's face, she's there. And your father too. They both live on through you." Jabari smiled through his tears. He felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. He knew he would always carry his parents' memory with him, in every dish he created and in every success he achieved. Jabari's restaurant continued to thrive. He hired young aspiring chefs, teaching them the skills he had learned over the years. He became a mentor, just as his mother had been to him. He shared stories of his parents, keeping their memory alive for the next generation. One day, as Jabari was teaching a new apprentice how to make lemon cake, he felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see the elderly woman who had visited him on opening night. "Jabari, there's something you should know," she said, her eyes twinkling. "What is it?" Jabari asked, curious. "There's a young boy in the village of Kijani who reminds me so much of you. He loves to cook, just like you did. His name is Tunde. He could use a mentor, someone to guide him and help him follow his dreams." Jabari's heart swelled with emotion. He remembered the struggles he had faced as a young boy, and the importance of having someone believe in him. "I would be honored to meet him," he said. A few weeks later, Jabari returned to Kijani. The village had changed over the years, but the memories flooded back as he walked through the familiar streets. He found Tunde at the market, watching in awe as the vendors sold their goods. The boy's eyes lit up when he saw Jabari. "Are you Chef Jabari?" Tunde asked, his voice filled with excitement. Jabari smiled. "Yes, I am. And you must be Tunde. I hear you have a passion for cooking." Tunde nodded eagerly. "I want to be a chef, just like you." Jabari saw the same determination in Tunde's eyes that he had once had. He knew that with the right guidance, Tunde could achieve great things. He took the boy under his wing, teaching him everything he knew. Tunde was a quick learner, and Jabari saw himself in the boy's enthusiasm and dedication. As the years passed, Jabari and Tunde developed a close bond. Tunde became like a son to Jabari, and the two of them worked together to create new and exciting dishes. Tunde's talent grew, and soon he was ready to take his place in the culinary world. One evening, as they were closing up the restaurant, Tunde looked at Jabari with a serious expression. "Chef, there's something I've been wanting to tell you." "What is it, Tunde?" Jabari asked. "I've been offered a position at a prestigious restaurant in the city. They want me to be their head chef." Jabari's heart swelled with pride. "That's wonderful news, Tunde. You've worked hard for this. You deserve it." Tunde smiled, but there was a hint of sadness in his eyes. "I'm going to miss Kiki's kitchen. This place is like home to me." Jabari placed a hand on Tunde's shoulder. "You'll always have a place here, Tunde. No matter where you go, you'll always be part of the Kiki's kitchen family." As Tunde prepared to leave for the city, Jabari reflected on his own journey. He had come a long way from the boy who was teased for loving to cook. He had faced many challenges, but he had never given up on his dream. And now, he had helped another young chef find his path. Jabari knew that his parents would be proud of him. He had honored their memory by following his passion and helping others do the same. He had built a legacy that would live on through Tunde and the many other chefs he had mentored. And so, Kiki's kitchen continued to thrive, a testament to the love and determination of a boy who cooked with the fire of his heart. Jabari's story was one of resilience, passion, and the power of believing in oneself. It was a story that would be told for generations, inspiring young cooks to follow their dreams, no matter the obstacles they faced. As the sun set over the village of Kijani, Jabari stood outside Kiki's kitchen, watching the stars twinkle in the night sky. He felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. His journey was far from over, but he knew that with each new day, he would continue to honor his parents' memory and make a difference in the lives of those around him. Jabari took a deep breath, savoring the cool night air. He knew that as long as he followed his heart and stayed true to his passion, he would always find his way. And with that thought, he turned and walked back into the warm, welcoming glow of Kiki's kitchen, ready to create more delicious memories and continue his culinary journey. The moral of the story is that following your passion, despite societal expectations and challenges, can lead to personal fulfillment and success. It emphasizes the importance of perseverance, self-belief, and the impact of nurturing one's talents. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a thing. Until next time, keep on nourishing your body, crafting your mind, and letting stories inspire you. Cheers!